for a moment of silent prayer and I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call.
Lidle.
Here.
Reese.
Here.
Sleek. Briggs.
Here.
Weiss.
Here.
Addy.
Here.
Elder.
Okay, we are going to have a presentation by Chief Wensinger first before we start anything in council. So, go ahead.
President, thank you. City Council, at this time I'd like to invite Sergeant Nazi and Detective Reed to join me. It is my honor to introduce to you Detective Ryan Reed, who is the Fremont Police Department's Officer of the Year for 2025. A little bit about this award. The command staff all get together and complete written nominations for command staff, and then the entire police department staff gets those nominations, and there's a vote on it. And this year, Sergeant Renazi wrote the nomination, and Detective Reed won it. So I'd like Sergeant Renazi to say a couple things about his nomination.
Hello, like Chief Wensinger said, my name is Matt Renazi. I'm the Detective Sergeant for the Fremont Police Department, and I'm also Detective Reed's direct supervisor for about the past year. When I was asked to nominate somebody for the 2025 Officer of the Year, I immediately thought of Detective Reed for multiple reasons. Firstly, he is an instructor in many different aspects of law enforcement. In fact, he spent his entire day today teaching cadets firearms qualifications at Ehovie Police Academy. So he did that all day in the rain and then came here to get this award. Secondly, for anyone who didn't know, 2025, particularly from about March through summer, was an exceptionally busy time for the Fremont Police Department. We dealt with several critical incidents and many complex investigations. When I think of three major investigations we had last year, they resulted in the arrest of a child predator who worked at our public library, 4 suspects for an armed burglary in which an individual was shot during that incident, and then the critical incident that occurred at Roger Young Park last July. Through those investigations, 7 suspects have been arrested already, and multiple have already pled guilty or been convicted of those crimes. The only people that have not been convicted yet are still going through the court process. I do not believe that it is a coincidence that Detective Ryan Reed was the lead investigator on all 3 of those cases. His dedication to this city and this police department sets the standard at our department. He is continually setting the bar for leadership and helping others. I just simply can't say enough things about him. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody who knows him or has worked with him in his career that he's getting this award here today. The way that this award works is that the sergeants nominate an award, but the peers actually vote on who gets it. And based on the results of the vote, truly nobody expected anything less from Detective Reed. So with that, I would like to present Detective Reed with his 2025 Officer of the Year award.
A little bit of hardware for the wall and a little bit of hardware for the uniform. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Detective Reed, do you want to say anything? Thank you. That's all I got. Okay. Congratulations. Thank you, guys.
Okay, if you, Mayor Sanchez and Ken Cross, if you'd like to get up and do your presentation for the budget.
Sure.
podium over here so we can get the keyboard on it.
Do we have, is there a slide?
Yeah, down here. First and foremost, when we go through this, you'll notice it is not, I won't say it's not as in-depth as it is any other year. It's just, there was not a lot of fluff in the budget. We decided that this year would be a good year for us to run everything as lean as possible, so we asked the department heads, hey, can we just make this a lean year to kind of catch up on our revenues a little bit? Our department heads were more than applicable. They cut every corner they could possibly cut on this budget to allow us to save a little bit more for our carryover. So we'd like to have our carryovers at a certain level. So when I go through this, normally I go through these presentations, the budgets, we'll go through the department heads. This department's getting this and this department's getting that. Not a whole lot of that on here. So I just want to forewarn you that before we even get into it. All right. We'll start off with the general fund. General fund revenues. Sorry.
Mr. Ross, could I say a couple things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Madam President and members of the council, Auditor Graw could not be here with us
Oh, yeah.
tonight. Myself, the Safety Service Director, and Auditor Graw, we've spent countless hours putting this budget together. We'd like to thank Councilman Leibold, who's the Finance Committee Chair, for scheduling this finance meeting. In fact, Auditor Graw, the Safety Service Director, and myself, we were in a meeting earlier today, and we had gone over all of the PowerPoint presentation. This is the first year in my 10 years that the Auditor Graw will not be here to present the budget with us. He has some notes for the slides that he was going to present on tonight. We obviously don't have those notes as he became ill earlier this afternoon. So the Safety Service Director and I will do our best to explain the slides that Mr. Graw will not be here to explain. And Council has also received an email, I believe, with the entire budget. The entire budget is approximately 85 pages long that City Council should have already received. We did have the first budget reading at the first council meeting. So what you're going to get here, as the Safety Service Director said, it's going to be more of an overview of specific finances from revenues to potential expenses for the year of 2026. So I will turn it back over to the Safety Service Director. We will do our best to answer questions tonight, and if there's something that we cannot answer, then we will be at the next council meeting with those answers, which would then be the third reading when we ask City Council to pass that budget. During the budget presentation, there are going to be a couple of things that I'm going to touch on that we are looking to seek, and I will explain that as Mr. Gross and I kind of go back and forth on these slides here. Thank you.
So I'll start out with the first slide. So general fund revenues, the money coming in, our income tax transfer from the people that are working, the income tax 73%, and you see how this goes around. But one thing I wanted to point out to everybody on council, because it's a hot button topic in Ohio, what is property taxes, right? How much is the city of Fremont really going to be affected if the property taxes are eliminated? Well, this pie chart demonstrates that property taxes only account for 10% of our entire budget. So probably a little less than $1 million. I just found that interesting, and I just wanted to bring that up. If property taxes are not, obviously they're detrimental, but they're not going to kill our budget. General fund expenditures.
I thought you were coming over here.
Well, general fund expenditures by category. Security of persons and property at 69%. That's your police personnel, fire personnel. Me, I'm in this category as well. So you can see that our general fund expenditures, 69% of all of our general fund is consumed by public safety. Any questions on that?
I think what's important when we talk about that, when we look at the budget and we look at the expenditures, just from a community standpoint, it's important to talk about that we make safety our #1 priority in the city. With the police chief and the fire chief just sitting back here behind me, we as a city have gone through, over the last, I would say 4 to 6 years, a complete overhaul of our police and fire. Was looking at all of our personnel costs and looking at our hiring practices and through different union negotiations and things like that, to try to make our city become very competitive, specifically in our law enforcement when we were struggling, you know, for several years of retention and growth within our department. I think by the investment that City Council has allowed the administration to make, we do know that there has been some additional costs that have incurred with that, with our law enforcement. But I think our chief would say that's paying off with the changes we've made. Chief, if you have anything you'd like to say.
Absolutely, worth every penny.
There we go. So, as I said, your police department, for this year, we're budgeting at basically 4.4 million. It's about a 0.3% change. Now, that's actually, I don't expect to hold to this actual number. We have some other things play, like we were gauging it off of all the overtime that we spent last year. Obviously, we've increased our personnel, so that overtime should be down considerably. And I really firmly believe that if we come back at the end of the year to do a budget recap, this number is going to be much less in actuality. But we did budget because of the year prior to. So that's your employee services, your police department's pension, you know, all the health insurance and paying into police and fire pension and their wages. So total of, it actually went down in all other categories. It went down because the chief was very good about saying, hey, we can make this work instead of this, and kind of cut here and there, and that actually went down. So the overall total is actually down by 8.2%. So we may be up 0.3 in the wage line, which I don't expect it to be up, but the chief did a really good job with his budget this year, and we're actually down 8.2% projected. Fire department, same way. Now the fire department has some staffing changes and some structurally staffing, the way that they're structured. They kind of drove this a little bit, not much. I mean, we're at 2.9, and we're budgeting 3.3 this year. However, with the staffing changes that they made, I'm going to ask the fire chief, to step up and just kind of explain briefly the way we restructured the fire department to provide more personnel and on per shift, right? We get like one per shift.
Yeah. So, and I'll explain this later. I can explain this now, but we're going to have the first reading of the ordinance change for this tonight to change the structure of the fire department. With the assistant chief's retirement, we looked at an opportunity to take that position and kind of put it in a holding pattern, and then in its place create 3 battalion chiefs. They're there on shift, whereas the current assistant chief, D. Schneider, was a 40-hour work week similar to myself. Replacing that position with the 3 battalion chiefs and putting them each on a specific shift was a way it was a fantastic compromise between the fire department and the city to bring the staffing back up to the 8-person staffing per crew that we've kind of been wanting to get back to for so long, but wasn't able to find a financially responsible way to do it. But this ends up being that way with the retirement of him, and then putting those people into those positions. They'll be able to act as acting officers on emergency scenes that warrant their presence. That they're not going to be involved with EMS calls or lift assist or open burns or nuisance fires and stuff like that, where the regular crew can handle. But structure fires, large-scale accidents, any large-scale incident, the battalion chief will step in to be the incident commander, which then takes the other commanding positions and pushes them down to make them working officers, if that makes sense to you, the captain and the lieutenant. Whereas the captain would have been withheld into the position of the incident commander. That position doesn't necessarily have a hands-on part in an emergency scene, whereas having the battalion chief now, the captain and the lieutenant will be able to be working officers within that scene, and it essentially gets us our 8th staff back. So, and those battalion chiefs will then absorb the responsibilities of the current assistant chief on the days that they're on station in terms of inspection bureau heads, final inspections on sprinkler systems, alarms, things of that nature, payroll, record keeping, and things like that, that the assistant chief currently does within the office. So, any questions on that?
I was just gonna say, if you know Chief Schneider, who's gonna be retiring at the end of March, he said it took 3 people to replace him.
He'll say that, but that's not necessarily how it works. But yeah, he would say that.
So thank you very much, Chief, for bringing that up, and I know that everybody appreciates that, but in particular, I know that Councilperson Reese really appreciates it, because we've been trying to figure out how to do this for the past 10 years together, right? Finally figured it out. Just took me a little while, and a different chief, so. Parks Department, basically, there's very little change here. They didn't hardly ask for anything either. They said we can deal with what we got for this year, try to get our coffers built up a little bit. They're actually down a little. Now Parks Department, we'll see how their staffing goes. I think we have I know we have one person that's gonna retire, I don't know, any day now. I mean, he's eligible to retire any day now. We certainly don't want him to go, but he's eligible. He could go any day now. So.
Which is Mr. Dernwad, who was the
Yeah.
employee who was here last week, or at the last council meeting.
I mean, if he goes, he's gonna be, I don't know that we're gonna need 3 people to replace him, but at least 2. Income tax fund, is your income tax revenues and withholdings. Income tax withholdings is 77%, and our business withholdings is 14%. Individuals, and then of course you got your penalties and interest, which are 1% in reimbursements back. That kind of goes back to the first slide. We're getting the money to pay for a lot of the stuff is from the income tax revenues. So what this kind of demonstrates now, and the way that budget is now, is that, to me, what this demonstrates is that people in this community are gainfully employed. They're working regularly, and we've been seeing somewhat of a steady increase in income tax revenues. I mean, we're not, blowing things out of the water here, but it's been a steady increase, which is very encouraging for our community. And I attribute that a lot to the work that's been put in by the mayor and Mr. Gross in economic development and bringing people to the community and housing and the jobs and the new things that are happening that Bob can speak about at some other point. So that kind of gives an actual of our income tax revenues. You can see we budgeted for 9.5. Last year we actually came in at 9.6. We like to do our budget very conservative, which is why we are in the black most years. Business taxes were up. We normally budget business taxes for 1.7 range, 25. I can't remember why we went higher for the business taxes in 25, but anyways, we're comfortable with running our budget at 1.75, what we're budgeted for. Hopefully, this number comes in a lot higher, as with all the other ones, and so forth and so on. You can see, like here, we penalties and interest. We did budget this one a little bit lower, I believe. We're anticipating a little bit of a loss there for some reason through the income tax office.
I think on that, Mr. Frost, on the tax business side, there were some new state legislative laws that went into place several years ago where they were able to carry forward losses. And some of the dollars that they were carrying as a loss, the city, we would take it in as revenue and have to return that back after, I believe like there was a 24-month period or something. So the auditor felt go a little bit more conservative on the revenue side with the business to anticipate having to return some of those dollars. And one of the things that I like to tell people from the public is we try to be conservative on our revenues and project lower revenues and higher expenses, and that typically seems to finish with a surplus rather than a deficit. So That's kind of how the auditor and the administration and many cities project their budgets.
Yeah, we're very, very good budget. I mean, our auditor, for those of you who don't know, used to work for the state auditor's office, and he's one of, if not the best. Trust me, if there's a dime, he'll work a week to find a dime. That's a true story.
I believe it.
We're getting 6 cents right now.
Holly knows. Here's our income tax department, employee services, transfer and debt. I don't really have much to talk about on this. I mean, everything kind of went down. Unless you had something you want to add to that, Mr. Leonard.
That is specifically to the income tax department. So that would be Janet's office, who
Yeah.
works underneath the auditor's office. So Janet is the person who handles the taxes and works directly with Rita. And that's her budget that aligns underneath Auditor Grall's office.
And some of the information that comes out of her office, we're not privy to. Like, we can't, the only people that can know are Janet and possibly Holly. Are you privileged to her information? And the auditor, well, Janet and the auditor. So a lot of stuff, if you have questions on this one, I'm gonna defer to Paul. Here's our public rec fund. Here's our revenues, program participation, which is up at the rec center, 18%, admissions 32%, rentals 6%, concessions, so on, and our transfer in at 35%. I'll show you this in a second. We do transfer in money from our general fund every year, have since the rec center's been open. That's how it stays afloat. However, I will say that even though we are transferring money in, this year Cody has done an excellent job monitoring and controlling the budget, and he did very, very well this year. I mean, obviously, with what we transfer in, you're never going to come ahead because it just is what it is, but he did a very, very good job last year. Here it is. Employee services, we budgeted $682, it's up a little bit. Obviously, when you got increased program participation, you've got increased rec center employees, referees, you know, whatever, lifeguards, our daycare people, they all do a wonderful job. So we had to bump that up a little bit. All other services went down, and then we also wanted to highlight some other things that people don't think that the rec center, and when you say rec center, you kind of think of basketballs, baseballs, whatever, but there are other expenses involved there. And we wanted to highlight some of those other expenses, such as chemicals. We got to pay a bunch of money for chemicals for the pool as well as for the ice rink to freeze the ice. So there's another $10,000 a year there. Our program expenses were $112,000. Now, Cody does a great job of, you know, pay X amount of dollars for, you know, program expenses and running concessions to try to offset the $112,000. But a lot of people don't realize that's an initial expense. Heat power for that building is $148,000 a year. It's a lot. It's a big building, and those are big units on top of that building. And the concession expenses, this is right off the top, is $35,000. Now the concession expenses obviously are going to be offset, provided we sell everything, or the freezer doesn't go down, the food spoils, or whatever. So there are just some other highlights that we just wanted to point out to make sure that everybody knows that these expenses are there as well. The ice rink is getting older, you know, stuff's breaking. Fortunately, we have a great mechanic on staff right now that is able to go there and fix most things. But the rec center building itself is 26 years old. It's over 20 years old, and things are starting to need repair. We're doing a good job of keeping up with it, though.
I think one of the things that you might want to, just to remind council, on the 87-page detailed budget report that you had emailed to you, when you look at the public recreation fund line, and you look at actuals on program participation in 2025, there was $182,000 generated in revenue from programs and expenses. So as the safety service director talks about the expenses that it costs to put them programs on, it's also just as important to talk about the revenue. What we don't want to do is mislead the public and that we're spending $160,000 odd on program expenses, and those dollars aren't seeing return on investment for their dollars. So as Mr. Frost stated, this past year was the best that the recreation department has ever done as revenue on program and expenses. Councilwoman Briggs is the representative, I believe, for the rec center and working directly with Cody. I think you're gonna learn a lot this year about all of the programs and things that happen over there that go on that sometimes the public may not know. I believe they do know if they're in them, but if they don't know, you know, whether it's yoga classes or whether it's youth soccer events or adult volleyball events or the Silver Sneakers events and things like that. There's things for everyone over there, and there are costs to making sure those things happen.
I think they ran 90 free events in the parks last year.
With donations and
With
sponsors.
donations. And that's all, you know, so, yeah, they're definitely keeping the community occupied if you want to be occupied over there, for sure.
Question. Yes, a question, please. Mrs. Frost,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know how the Zamboni is doing.
The Zamboni is doing fine. I mean, it hasn't needed any major repair.
Knock on
We've
wood.
had it how many years now?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It was here before I got here, and I've been here 10 years. So,
Okay.
There's
I
only 10
thought-
more days for the ice rink this year though, so.
I thought it was,
No.
since I've been.
It was, the Zamboni, if you remember, council, was prior to my administration. Mayor Ellis and the previous administration took the money out of the Wash Trust Fund to buy the Zamboni, and then that was repaid back later on to the Wash Trust Fund.
And I was here to vote for
It was probably 2014-ish that the Zamboni was acquired.
There was some of the council people that wanted to have a rebuilt one, and I said, no. I don't remember how much the price difference was, but we got the new one. And that's why, you know, we probably haven't had that many repairs, even though it may be 10 or 12 years old.
it was a good investment, Brian. Yeah, I don't know. It's the Zamboni.
It was expensive, I don't remember.
I remember vaguely reading about something in the paper, but I wasn't working there at the time. Street maintenance fund? Street maintenance fund, where do we get our money for street maintenance? Streets, buildings department down here, our street departments, 84% of it comes from the gas tax. So when you fill up your tank, fill up in Fremont, so that we can collect the gas tax and fix our roads. Motor vehicle license, we get a percentage of that. We have to apply for through the county and get that back every year. And then others, 2% of miscellaneous.
I think, just real quick, I'm just trying to jump in with Ken here on some of these, but with the street maintenance, or the street gas tax fund, just to remind council and the public, a lot of those dollars from the gas tax, people were saying, well, why don't you use those for the streets?
We do.
A portion of those does get used for literally street repair, but also those dollars contribute to personnel costs of the street department.
Yeah, basically it runs, everything in the street department, the equipment and stuff. So, street maintenance department this year, which is actually last year when council voted on this, is the wonderful bucket truck that we don't have yet. Well, we had apparently we had it for a couple of days and something was wrong with it and they had to send it back to get fixed up whatever was wrong with it. So, that was in the 2024 budget. We ordered it, and we still realistically don't have it. The one thing I did increase here is a road saw. Bumped that up $45,000 more. That's the nature of the beast. We ran for everybody, not just us. Most communities, I should say, ran for quite a few years here just recently with a surplus of salt, and then this winter everybody got wiped out because of the bad snowstorms and some of the events that we had. So that had to get bumped up a little bit because we need to make sure that we have enough salt in our reserves, and keep our community safe and our roads free of ice so that we can get our pool bucket trucks down them.